Well, I am super excited to have you with me, Eric. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
And so, Eric and I, we actually met through Facebook, right? Once I started the Clair Diaries page, you saw some of my reels that talked about my experiences that I'm going through during my spiritual awakening. And um, I know that you've been experiencing similar ones. So I'm just super excited to have you on my show. We love to talk about all things spiritual awakenings. And so the more people that we can have on the show and that can talk about their experiences as they're happening in real time, the more people will be able to help. So I'm super excited to have you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. It's a humble honor to be able to be a part of this and for, us as the awakened to be a part of each other. I think we're going to find that as we move into this period, all the hard things we have to go through will not only make sense, but will have been worth it.
Absolutely.
Will have been worth it.
Absolutely. And so let's talk about how your spiritual awakening started. Let's start there and then we'll progress.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about there. So this, I've been at this for 6 years. And I'll get into this in my story, because of the early part of this, I was actively fighting terminal cancer, which obviously I'm not dead. So that's part of the story too. So I had a lot of time sitting to be healing, to study and to research, but also to get these downloads. So let me start there. And then as I talk about research, and if we have time, I can go back and see how I can look back to the various early remembrance of my life and understand why X happened here and there. So that
Right.
that puzzle was all coming together. So it was 2020. Actually, it was before the pandemic, shortly before the pandemic, and everything was crazy. I was a marketing manager for a Fortune 50 tech company, of which they treated me very well. And I was compensated very well for that. A lot of work, a lot of hard work, relationships, and everything like that. But it was a good life. Unfortunately, um, you can't save or help humanity by selling ink, printers, and computers. And I think, and what so my higher being, I'll just state that, is Jesus, but I will refer to that as source. I'll refer to Jesus as source. I've got his permission.
Mhm.
Um, so source, or whomever decided that I needed to be selected for this particular adventure, uh, came in pretty quickly. So this is kind of how it went. Um, I was working. I was actually very, very unhealthy. I had had two bouts of cancer previous in 2018. I had stage stage 4 prostate cancer and stage 2 breast cancer. My family has a genetic predisposition for cancer. That's part of my story too. But because of working and not having enough time, I literally I weighed like 440 pounds. I was unhealthy. If you cut me, I would bleed gravy. It was terrible, the shape that I had allowed myself to get into. And so the pandemic happened, uh, and I've always been an extremely empathic person. I am obsessed with social injustices. I'm obsessed with people getting taken advantage of that cannot defend themselves or can't provide for themselves. It's ever since I was a child. And at the time when the pandemic hit, I heard the plight of the the truck driver. I have my truck driver wall over there. But I live in a very small town in Southwest Washington. I live 140 miles south of Seattle and 50 miles north of Portland, Oregon. And Portland, that's important to the story too. But I, literally, I prayed, what can I do to help these people out? The pandemic is going to make everybody go sideways. But, in going sideways, we need toilet paper. We need. And so I contacted the mayor of my town, and I had remembered that we had a big landslide up here, like it was probably 10 years ago now. And the I-5 was blocked and for like 7 days. And so like 60,000 vehicles were stranded in my little 5,000 person town. And what they did was they opened up the high school and used it as a warming shelter. And a friend So essentially, I floated the idea to do this with the truckers, and we did that for 3.5 months. We had a remote temporary truck stop that they could stop in. And it's really kind of beautiful because our town didn't really have a chance to think about all the negative sides of the pandemic. All they knew was Woodland was about the truckers. So, little ladies over here making, the facial masks, all the restaurants donating food. My neighbor who owns a janitorial service was cleaning the shower areas and everything. It was really, really a group effort. And I'm like, wow, that's good. That's good energy to put back into the world. And at the time, my wife and I were in the process of buying an RV, and I had to buy a big, beautiful truck to haul that RV. So I got the truck. The thing was over. Pandemic was going on, and I need to get away. So I took a trip to California, drove my new truck down to California to see my nieces, and I got really ill. And I was for 5 days I was held up in my niece's bedroom in Ramona, California, and something was wrong. I thought it was COVID. I thought it was diverticulitis. Well, anyway, I made my way back up here, and they found out I had stage 3 inoperable pancreatic cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is where the awakening starts. This is really where the catalyst is.
Mm-hmm.
So when my oncologist told me that I had pancreatic cancer, and believe me, it is one of the, aside from melanoma, it's probably one of the worst cancers you can have. And almost nobody survives it.
Yeah.
My internal, I receive downloads and I receive messages. I will refer to communications from, you know, a non-human entity as being downloads.
So did you
Uh,
start getting these like at the time you were diagnosed with cancer? Did it happen after your cancer diagnosis?
I started getting them right as I was diagnosed with cancer.
Okay.
So I was told, and I wasn't unhappy, and I thought it odd. And I'm like, for a moment there, well, am I happy that I'm just tired of all the bullshit? I'm going to check out. Is that what this is? And I knew it was something quite different, but I was very calm. I was very, I don't know, I was almost excited, and it just didn't make any sense. And then I went to the surgeon. His name was Dr. Hansen, spelled the same way as mine. And by the way, the Ian Hansen is the most uncommon spelling of it. Um, and he says, "Hey, buddy," he goes, "I don't pull any punches." He goes, "I can't operate on your tumor because it's encasing your aortic artery." And he goes, "I can't touch it." He goes, "If I touch it, you die."
Mm.
And I said, "So if you can't operate, so does that mean I'm terminal?" And he's, "Yeah, you're terminal." And I said, "Well, what are my odds here?" And still, I'm like, it's like somebody just told me what they're having for lunch.
Right.
And he goes, "Well, okay, with chemo, you've got maybe 6 months. Without chemo, I'd be surprised if you made it 2, 3 months."
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, I got all that information. And as I was walking to the car, it wasn't an audible voice, but I got these words: "Good,
Mm.
we have work to do."
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife is next to me, obviously freaking out. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to start telling her that I'm hearing things. And at this time, I wasn't on any medical treatment whatsoever. So anyway, I decided to go with the chemotherapy. I was going to go out fighting. My oncologist is a dear friend
Mm-hmm.
and a spectacular physician. Um, so we started on the chemo, and it's so with chemo you have to take steroids in order to get it, and that was a whole education. But I was a 7 bagger, which means on my chemo tree on the little thing, I had 7 bags that hung, and then when I would leave, um, they would take an eighth bag, and I would have it pumping for 48 hours. So I'm sitting there, and it's my first day of chemo, and I looked at the nurse, and she goes, "You seem really relaxed." And I go, "Yeah," and I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
I said, "The only thing I'm concerned about is," I said, "is my hair going to fall out as I sit here,
Mm-hmm.
or does it patch out later? Or I want to be prepared for this." And she looked at it and she looked at me and she goes, she goes, Mr. Hansen, she goes, you're not going to lose your hair. She goes, interestingly enough, she goes, I do believe your hair is going to come back thicker and more beautiful than it ever has been. That's why I have long hair.
Mhm.
When that happened, I promised myself I'd never cut my hair again.
Oh,
So
wow.
I do get the frizzies trimmed, but you know. And so another part of this too is Source put in my life an individual who lived in my town whom I had never met before. And this individual was and still is a homeopathic doctor.
Okay.
And just out of the blue, she came into my life. She was a friend of my son's, and she just lives down the street from me. She came in like a wrecking ball,
Hmm.
and she's pretty much left like a wrecking ball. And that's kind of the story of my life. People come into my life for a moment, and then they're gone, never to come back again.
Yep.
And so she said, here's what we're going to do. She goes, have you ever heard of Rick Simpson oil? And I go, no. And she goes, well, what it is the most highest concentration of psychoactive THC in the whole marijuana plant. And Rick Simpson, 1973, I can give you the whole story. But she goes, there is some, now that it's legal, and I know it's legal in Colorado, it's legal in Washington too. They've been able to study it and they've had some success. And she goes, but not everybody can handle it. The concentration is so high. Well, being an old Colorado hippie from the 70s, I did my turn with the with the bong. So I had a high enough tolerance to get started on it. And
Hmm.
so I started taking Rick Simpson oil along with other homeopathic, not weird stuff, just mushroom supplements to help with my digestion, and not psilocybin mushrooms. I'm also allergic to all opioids. So pain medication I can't take. Tylenol is about as strong as I can go. I would have made a really bad drug addict.
Hmm.
And and so I went through the rigors. I never got sick when I was on chemo.
Hmm.
I never got moon face. I never lost my hair. I actually never really had a bad day. I
Wow.
was I, was- I was leading a Bible study in the treatment center because every time we went in for treatment, it was about 8 to 10 hours.
Mm.
And I made some really, really good friends. And everything at that point was whatever you do from here on out, you must be a beacon of hope.
Yeah.
No matter how shitty your day is, you've
Yeah.
got to be a beacon of hope because your shitty is less than somebody else's real shitty, and they need to see your progression through this.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I get it. I have to go through this so I can be legitimate. And it's like, yes, 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 yes.
Hmm.
So I went through, and then I started having, and when I don't know how to accurately articulate this, but I'm going to try in my best estimation. 3 months from now, I can say, you know what, that's not what it was, and I'll come back and say, Stace, that's not what it was. Here's how I feel it is now. I believe that with the chemotherapy drugs and the Rick Simpson oil and the other what do you call it, steroids and stuff to go in there. There's a whole cocktail. One of them really changes your personality. It's called dexamethasone. They call it the evil Dex,
Mm.
and it's freaky. So yes, there was my personality was changing. I
Wow.
get that. And when I step outside of myself, look at it, and why wouldn't my personality
Yeah.
change?
Yeah.
I'm dying. I'm dying in 3 months. This is my last hurrah. Um,
So you actually
so
believed you were dying. You weren't maintaining positivity within yourself and saying, I'm meant to fight this. I'm not gonna die.
thanks for pulling me out of that one. No, I knew deep down that I wasn't going to die,
Okay.
but I had to live in the 3D. I had to live in the world as if I was going to die, and
Right.
and so I took advantage of if I was insane, and that was a real
Hmm.
consideration. If I was insane, at least I'm going to get the treatment that the sane people think I should have,
Yeah.
and then they can put me in a box and do whatever with me.
Okay.
So no, I never had a feeling that I was gonna, and I still don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
I
And
think
I had a checkup yesterday, and I'll talk about that in a minute.
yeah.
Um, so where that's relevant is in 2 weeks of treatment. So your tumor marker for your pancreas is called the CA19-9. And all a tumor marker is something within the tumor that emits a protein, and the position of that protein dictates, the severity of your cancer. So my CA 19.9 decreased by 38% in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And my doctor, so much so the doctor came in to the treatment room and she goes, "We're going to have to run this again." She goes, "This shouldn't happen." Ran it again, 38%. And she goes, "Wow." And I told her that I was going to be on Rick Simpson oil. And, you know, doctors and clinicians are beholden to big pharma. I'll just say that they have, DNAs that they can't discuss alternative treatments inside their facility. But
Hmm.
oh boy, do they like to go out and have coffee every now and then.
Right.
So she couldn't prescribe it, but she didn't tell me not to.
Well, yeah.
And and so after the next 2 weeks, I went in and my total tumor marker had gone down by 68%. This is in 4 weeks.
Wow.
And then also after the chemo at the level that I was on, they used to make you wait 3 weeks in order for your body to rebuild and your blood to rebuild before they give you another ailment. My body was regenerating within 4 days.
Wow.
So I could get it bang, 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 bang.
Hmm.
So um, it at this point, I am receiving phone calls from people saying goodbye to me,
Right.
but internally I'm actually living my best life because I knew there was something else. And then the downloads started to come.
Okay.
And I call them the patio sessions.
Hmm.
I live in a mountain. I live in a mountain home. I have 3 acres in the Woodland Mountains or in the Southwest Washington Mountains. They're not big by Rocky Mountain standards, but situationally, I call this my little piece of Colorado and Washington. So it's very private. A lot of animals, tons of animals,
Hmm.
also very relevant to my story.
Right.
And I started waking up at 4 o'clock every morning and I couldn't get to sleep. And I was anxious and I would go out on the patio to, believe it or not, have a cigarette. And as soon as I walked out on the patio, I started getting these, I don't even know how to describe them. So much information inundated me. And Stacy, I'm looking down right now. Um, I have 8 journals, spiral binders, completely full, back to front. And I wrote down everything.
Wow.
When I talk on podcasts and stuff, the deal that I made with Source was that I wouldn't script anything. I didn't write anything down for this interview. It's got to come from the heart. What are the original messages I got? The first message I got was one word, and it said revival.
Hmm.
And I'm like, revival. And so I have a Christian background, but that has changed dramatically since 2020. Um, so revival to me was a word that was out of faith. And so, and the interesting thing about these downloads at first, it was like breadcrumbs. I'm going to give you a little bit of something, and I want you to try to figure out what I'm saying. And so I got this is exactly what I got. Revival, the veil is dropping. Beware the Catholic Church.
Hmm.
And I need you to do 3 things. And so revival is what I know is what's happening right now. And it's not necessarily a religious or a Christian revival. It is a revival of high vibrating human beings that are from all over the world that are having the same experiences, so much so that they can't deny it. So much so that they're willing to live very meager, lonely lives in order to honor this truth, whatever the truth
And
is.
that's because we're splitting off right now into two different Earths as
Yep.
far as frequency goes. That's exactly what's happening. So we're all preparing. From what feels right when I listen to other content.
Yeah.
Dolores Cannon, she's passed away, but she's got a lot of great things to say. It's like there's different waves of people. First wave, second wave. Their first wave is going to be the star seeds or the chosen ones, and they're going to come in and show the way to the second wave and things like that. And so that's what's happening right now. I mean, you're not going to. It's not like what you think about it when it said two Earths. It's all frequency based. So those who are on a higher frequency will start living, that way. Whereas the ones that are not facing their shadows and traumas and dealing with their stuff and they're still in a lower frequency, they'll be living totally separately, basically.
you just elevated on my respectometer, all right? Because this is a lot of what I'm about. Um, uh, and let me get to the energy part of it in just a second and go back to the original messages. So I know the revival is what's happening right now, and it is a religious revival. And to be, I guess you can call it omni-denominational and everything. Like, look, I don't care how you show up. You just need to be authentic to be in my world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I don't require you to believe in Christ. I don't require you to look a certain way. I want your authenticity. If your authenticity doesn't pass the acid test, boom, you're gone. I'm sorry. See
yeah,
ya.
yeah.
So I just lost my train of thought. There's so many things.
Right.
Okay, so the second thing was the veil is dropping. The very first thing I thought about when I heard that statement was I thought about the accusations against Kevin Spacey. At this time, Epstein Island wasn't necessarily a thing, it was a rumor.
Hmm.
Uh, but I thought about Kevin Spacey and I remember going, holy shit, it's all of them.
Oh yeah.
This is
I mean, they set up Michael Jackson. Now you start to understand Prince, Michael Jackson, they all knew. They all already understood how Hollywood was, and they spoke up and they stood up for themselves. And so what happened? Smear campaigns went down with Michael Jackson, and look, he ended up dying, and Prince too. It's just like very odd how you start, like the systems all just start to like crash once you wake up. You're just like, oh,
so I'm going to have to set the meter even higher on the respectometer because I have 1 degree of separation to Michael Jackson on that issue, and I'm
wow.
happy to explain that. So yeah, there's a lot here. So we may, want to do
We'll have
two
to we'll have to
segments
do a couple shows.
probably.
Yeah.
Uh, so the one was the veil is going to drop. So clearly to me, what I was being told and what I felt in my spirit that it had to do with the kids. I didn't know exactly what it all was like it is now, but it had to do with the kids.
Hmm.
And that I know that from source or from God that a line was being crossed that needed to be rectified.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and the third was, and this is a very unpopular thing, and I have to be careful of my audience, is beware the Catholic Church.
Mhm.
In my humble opinion, the Catholic Church is the most satanic organization on planet Earth. And so satanic is they're open about their pedophilia, and we don't even give a shit.
I I I
No,
I have never understood that. I've always felt the hypocrisy of every church I've stepped a foot in, and like I said, that's probably because I was born with mediumship inside me. So church was a lot for me as a young kid, and it was overwhelming. But I felt a lot of yuckiness in there. You know?
and you should. And I don't want to go down a rat hole on this, but I had uh, well, we'll save that for another time. Uh, you and I, uh, you and I have differing views at this point, but I think it's about semantics. I
Mhm.
honestly think it's about semantics. So I'd like to share with you, and we can do it here or offline, but I'd like to share with you my progression from organized religion to where I am right now. And I'm even more of a Christ believer than I have been. But you talk about if they're gonna poison our water, if they're gonna screw with our kids, aren't they gonna mess with our religion? The one thing we hold true, the hereafter that we're gonna go to, we're gonna screw with that, and they have.
Mhm.
And they have in a very, very big way. So the Catholic Church is and
Is this a part of your awakening then?
oh
That
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I was Anglican Catholic. I was Episcopalian for a number of years.
Okay.
And I didn't see anything evil in it. It just was it didn't do anything for me. It was like all it was like Charlie Brown in school. There was no spiritual
Yeah.
substance, nothing like that. I got more of that by petting a dog or
Mhm.
talking to a child. So that was the basis. And and the three things that I had to do. So I'm a musician, I'm a writer, I'm prior military, I'm retired Navy, and all of this stuff. So here's exactly the message I got. I- I'm a drummer, and my drums were sitting in the garage gathering dust. And the download was very emphatic. You will clean those drums off, and
Mhm.
this is going to be a part of your testimony. I said, okay, I can do that. Play music for help humanity. I'm
And so
down with
you
that.
still have cancer at this time?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, big.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm still in that window of, am I going to die in 3 months or
Okay.
are my intuition? And and that prompted some very aggressive action on my part because I thought time was running out. And I can speak to the music part of it. I used to be on a Christian worship team, and that's where I got really like got my teeth in performance. It was a good group of people. I was at a very small church with a lot of good musicians. And so when I got the news, I called my old worship team and I said, I think we ought to do it one more time. And I thought that's what my call was, just to get up and do the worship team thing one more time. And I'm a dreamer. I think very grandiose. They call me the boy with the red balloon. I'm just so happy to be alive. And
Would you call yourself ADHD?
oh,
If,
I I'm diagnosed
okay. I knew it.
panic.
I already knew that.
Yeah, I'm diagnosed panic. And when we go back to how this relates in my childhood, it's absolutely. But I'm diagnosed depressive. Excuse me, panic disorder. I have obsessive compulsive disorder.
Oh,
Something else.
okay. You
Um,
definitely want to regulate your nervous system then. It'll
yeah,
be it'll be
yeah,
very powerful. I
yep.
think most of us with ADHD or who have been diagnosed ADHD have a lot of gifts. I do.
Bingo. And that's just it. You're not on the spectrum. You people like us radiate at a higher frequency.
Yeah. And
And
they know that
and
about
that
us. So they put us in a box.
Yep. They put us in it. Well, were you, so you're
I'm
48.
47. I didn't get diagnosed until I was 30, but it was, I also had the PTSD. And so that really created a shitstorm of hot messness after my best friend died. You mix that with undiagnosed ADHD and I couldn't function. So I had to get on medicine in order to,
I have combat PTSD,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
combine that with, so I get you.
Yeah.
And I did the
Because it was
whole,
depressing to live like in a state of, you know how you are, you can't do anything. You're like frozen because you're so overwhelmed. And so you do nothing. And then you feel like a piece of poo because you do nothing. You're like, man, I suck. You're just hating on yourself and just making everything way worse.
well, and then they give you drugs to make you do more nothing,
Yeah.
and that's part of it too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so where was I going to go with that? Oh,
Sorry.
so
Yeah.
no, no, no. So the music was one, and he said you've got to give your testimony. I say it's whoever's giving me this information, what entity is this is what was said. You need to give your testimony. If you do it live, you can't use a script, but I want you to write a book. And I've again, I attacked it with a vigor. I've probably got 25 different intros to this book, and none of them are sailing. And the only thing I can think of, it's not time yet. Same with the music. My band right now, we can get into that too. That's part of this. My band right now, we're probably going to be on the local circuit in about 2 or 3 months. So all along, part of this was an exercise in patience, complete submission, and not trying to control the shit.
Hmm.
And I didn't realize until not too long ago that I was a super duper control freak, and
Mm.
I didn't be a control freak. So anyway, write a book, get back into music.
And
What
you thought
else?
you all had to do, you thought you had to do this all within your 3 months?
It's what was out there, and so I think the design was, how am I going to do this with limited time? And the answer was it's impossible.
Right.
But what it did was when I brought this to so I'm going to lay a concept on you here. When you get sick like that, and I think it's normal, when you get sick like that, like you're terminally ill, you anticipate your crew, your people to come at you and give you a little bit of grace when you're talking about
Mhm.
things. And I'm not going to say that I didn't get grace. I mean, all my needs were met. I got taken to the doctor. I got my medications when I needed to, all that stuff. But when it came to about the internal part of me saying, look, I know I'm dying, or at least they say I'm dying, but I've got this thing going on here and
Mhm.
I need to talk about it.
Yep.
And when I gathered my family together to talk about it, I thought I was in a very safe environment. And I wound up having to go through two psychological evaluations. And so I realized that I couldn't really talk to anybody about anything that was going on. And so even back then, I began searching for a safe place because if I was insane, I was okay to accept that. I'm just like, I need to be with somebody who, if I am in fact insane, they can get me to the right place so I don't harm myself or harm other
Wow.
people.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
I wasn't right.
I just did, I never felt I was insane. I was like, man, this is wild. I just can't believe this is happening. How is this happening? Like, I mean, I feel like other people are insane for questioning me. I'm like, no, why would I make something up? Like, I've been, you've known me 48 years. I've had level head, I've got my shit together. I'm not going to just start making this up.
Well, I mean, um, had I done this in a vacuum, I don't think I ever would have thought I was insane because the information that I was getting, my body and spirit verified it as being legitimate
Yeah,
beyond
exactly.
anything, beyond any. That's why the truth is so strong because it is absolutely the truest truth I've ever
Yeah.
known. And I know that I can't go back. It would be impossible for me to go back.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
there's so you have to figure out what forward is. Um, so I went through that. I went through the treatments and everything. Um, and I still kept getting downloads and I really couldn't tell anybody anything. So I just wrote it all down. And so the last 6 years has been a lot about info. And I mean, I, the information I'm getting right now, super dark, super dark.
Mhm. So
Um,
do you feel like you've been in the messy middle for 6 years? Like, where are you at?
mm, so yeah, so if your definition of the messy middle
Yeah.
is
That's just what I
is
say to everybody.
is that well, no, I love it. It because it
In
explains
between, in between. We're not totally who we're meant to become.
right.
We're all kind of on a cliff. We know we need to jump. We know we got something big we're supposed to be helping with. It's just that we don't know what.
So here's what I would say to that. I would say on the surface, I would say yes, I'm in the messy middle, and to a certain degree, I'm still in the messy middle. And part of that has to do with my makeup. So let me tell you a little bit about what I was and what I am now. So when I was a child, I wasn't abused, but I was ignored. I was a late in life child. My sisters were 12 and 15 years older than me, and we didn't know till later, but we all three of us had different fathers.
Oh wow.
Oh, was my mom a trollop? I don't know. She sure was fun though. She was a fun
Oh,
woman.
I don't mean a wow like that. I just mean finding
Yeah.
that out later in life would be difficult.
Well, I mean, because it was taboo back
Yeah.
then. My mom's first husband was a World War II fighting ace. And when he would get off mission, he would come back in and pull a service revolver and pistol whip her. So my mom did something in the 40s that no woman ever did, and that was she left her husband and she had a child in tow.
Yeah. Wow.
Um,
For
I,
her.
w- my dad died early. I was raised by three females. I've got a serious female side.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm serious. My yin and yang are so, you know.
Right.
Um, but it I don't think they knew what to do with me. And also too, my dad, he was 41 when I was born. I not only was I his only child,
Mm.
I was a boy. Uh, and so I'm born, and so my sisters automatically become babysitters, and
Mhm.
they're teenagers, and they shouldn't have been babysitters, but they didn't.
Right.
They didn't another
That's
mouth to
fine.
feed. My mom had to go back to work, and so it was really about, okay, what the fuck are we going to do with Eric now? And it's summertime. What the fuck are we going to do
Yeah.
with Eric?
Yep.
And they didn't mean anything by it. They were trying to figure it out. My family was pretty open, pretty no filter. But I think as a child, I internalized this is that I don't belong. I don't fit. And
Yeah. Yep.
and
Makes sense. And
and
we
not
all have, and just to be clear, like we all have we all have amazing families, and no, I'm sorry. We don't all have amazing families. Even those of us that do have amazing families, we all have our traumas from what happened growing up because your parents are only doing the best they know how to do. And so they don't even know that it's affecting your nervous system or anything. So anytime you feel triggered or something like that, that's your body's way of telling you, I never was able to heal or process something that happened to me years ago. So it's very fair that you say that. Yeah.
Well, and that's again part of my journey. I needed to go like, okay, so this is my parents' fault, so I'm a victim. No,
No.
I'm not
Right.
a victim. What were my parents a victim of, and what were their parents a victim of? And if you look at the time frame, my parents were depression babies. My mom grew up in a
Exactly.
mining town on the other
Silent
side of her.
generation.
Yeah,
Women were taught not to say a word.
well, and men couldn't emote.
Yeah.
Men were not allowed to emote. So, imagine that. My dad, who's an old Iowa farm boy, and he's kind of a big thing in the military. Good man he was, but the way they were brought up, men don't emote, and what he had was a man child, but a man child that had some feminine emotions,
Hmm.
right? And I think his biggest fear is that I was gay. I'm not. I'm extremely in touch with my feminine side. I'm also extremely in touch with my male side.
Well,
You
you're
know,
an empath. I
I'm a
mean,
huge
that
empath.
that's the problem. Or
Yeah.
that's what he would see as a problem, probably because you're too sensitive. That's what I was told my whole life. You're too sensitive. Oh my gosh,
Uh,
you're too sensitive. Or them telling me that I was like I knew when somebody was upset, and I would say, "Why are you mad?" I'm not mad. So then you question your intuition and things like that. At a
well,
very
man,
early age.
Emily used to call me Clara. Clara Bernhardt was a dramatic actor back in the
Oh, so
40s.
that scarred you.
So I would come in, and of course, I felt like I didn't belong. So
Right.
I tried to do things so I would fit. And
Yes.
that was my life, is to try to fit.
You're
I
masking.
want to,
We're all
yeah,
masking.
exactly. I'm going to be this and I'm going to be that, so I'm going to excel at sports. Well, I hate it. So I didn't do it,
Yeah.
and so I found my niche, but it was after my dad died. My niche was music.
Yeah.
Um, in fairness, my mom was awesome. My mom was my best friend.
Hmm.
And she did the best she could. And it was things that she wasn't dealing with. But, um,
And
my
they
mom,
have their own traumas that we don't even know about because they don't talk about stuff, that
my
generation.
mom, my mom was an orphan.
Yeah. Wow.
My mom was an orphan, and my dad came from a big, family, and all of
That-
that combined together, their heart was in the American dream.
yeah.
It's just,
But their traumas now also could become a part of our traumas. And that's where generational trauma starts stacking up.
and the other thing about that too is, genetically in my family, we are predisposed to, well, I think a lot of the people in my family are enlightened, but it's under the umbrella of mental illness, social anxiety. So the other members of my family, basically my niece's children, are just sitting alone in their apartments on Prozac, and they're and I was there once, but that's not the answer. So
Right.
anyway, um, so the question is, why am I still in the messy metal? It took me a long time. I told you about the control issue. I had so so if ego was a being, mine was a fire breathing dragon, and I had to slay that bitch in order before I can move
Yeah.
forward. So it's
Yeah.
taken so long because I would go in and I go, okay, I submit. I'm gonna relax. It's gonna work out. And then 2 minutes later, I wouldn't believe it. I try to control everything.
Mm.
And in fairness, you get taught this thing. You go out and go in the military, and I was a chief, and I was heavily involved in the Iran-Iraq war.
Yeah.
So what came out of my mouth could make somebody live or make somebody die.
Yeah.
And so I'm very knife hand, very, and I had to get rid of all that.
You definitely would benefit from somatic processing.
And I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of
Okay.
that's kind of where it happened. So but in that process too, I got better. So I could start going out and socialize. I think the other real interesting thing is that my entire being is completely transformed. I
Right.
am I am not physically, mentally, emotionally, intellectually. I am not the same person I was 10 years ago. I'm
Mm.
not. And I could show you a picture of me 10 years ago, and you would say that is not the same person.
I mean,
And
I feel like there's a lot of us that are going through that too. I mean, I feel the same about me. I actually feel like I look younger than I did 10 years ago now. Like, I'm just like way healthier.
that was,
Awakening helps that when the higher your frequency, obviously that's all part of that.
and that's one of the points I was going to I had a doctor's appointment yesterday. I've gotten to the point now to where I'm so far in remission that I only have to be seen by my oncologist once a year, but every 6 months I see a PA, and they just check the blood work and they see if there's anything that's outstanding. The last two times I've gone, the note has been, you present and have what is the word? You have the physical stamina and abilities and the blood work of a 30-year-old man.
Nice.
And my doctor even said it would appear that you're aging backwards.
Yeah.
And so whether I am or not, I'm okay. I'm happiest. This is the best version of me ever. I finally love who the fuck I am, and,
Yay.
and I'm a pretty cool dude, you know.
Yep.
Um, and that was that's what I really had to do to get out of the messy metal, and I still go back to it. They're old tapes, but we all lead a lifetime to where we're inadequate, we're this and that. But then when you start to realize gifts, and then in my solitude moments, I'm like, okay, so I'm having it verified. Even this, I'm having it verified that I have gifts.
Well, we're all born with gifts.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Everybody is born with gifts. Everybody is gifted. We lose it very young. And
I
most people just don't ever find them.
I agree with that, and I have actually a theory on that. But
Mhm.
when let me say this, let me put it this way: we have evidence that our gifts are showing. We have evidence that those of us who have whatever we signed an ancestral contract
Yeah.
or I literally believe something like that happened. I lost my memory, and
Yes.
when I was born, I
Yeah.
went, "Fuck, put me back. I don't want to do
I
this."
think that's what most of us did. We didn't know that it was going to be so hard on the earth.
Yep,
And you can't move forward until you work out your karma.
yep,
You're going to come back to the same life if you don't face it that life. You're going to come back. It's like a school of frequencies, I feel like.
yep.
When once you
I,
pass, you end up at like so like even the worst of the worst. I would say the low maybe what people call hell. I don't see it as hell. I see it as like the lowest grade, the lowest level of frequency, and they have to go back there until they figure their shit out to move up.
so the interpretations of hell and heaven and all of these things that we have in written word
Right.
have all been manipulated by
Yeah.
man.
Exactly.
So,
That's why I stick with God. That's why I
yeah,
don't because every religion is different because it's all man interpreted.
correct.
Yeah.
So here's the quick how I feel on that. And I had to go through this, so I don't harbor any. That's a big
Yeah, I
thing
don't
too.
like to talk about religion very often, so we'll
Yeah.
just do it quickly.
No, all I
Yeah.
was going to say was, I saw the lie for what it was,
Yeah.
but then my next step was, why did they need to lie about this? So what is it that they're covering up? And that's where I'm at right now. And
I mean,
so
to me, it's about greed and power.
well, of course, there's certainly that. But I mean, I look at it also from an historical standpoint too. That's verifiable with Constantine and the Reformation and the Council of Nicaea, all this stuff and everything. What I mean by this is, I don't give a shit if God is a frequency. I don't give a shit if
Yeah.
God is quantum physics. I don't care. I know there's a God,
Yes.
and I know his true
Hmm.
or her true identity has been hidden. I am open to it and pliable to. I'm talking to a medium right now, which is something I wouldn't have done 2 years ago,
Right. I know.
right?
And the
And I
fact that I
told
even say that about myself, it trips me out still because I'm like, what?
well,
Because I've basically been a hermit since all of my stuff started happening. So I really haven't been in front of people to really understand, the depth of what's going to happen. I'm really
are
like
you,
clueless.
are you catching anything off of me? Is any of my ancestors screaming at you?
No.
Darn,
No,
let's talk to her.
no, but I mean, they no, they when they come through like pretty. I feel like their energy. I can feel their energy, and I start like talking like them and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's cool.
yeah,
I'd like to experience that.
yeah.
Let me just say that on the religious front, I am more open now to things like the Sunday Christians. I call them the CNEs. They show up for Christmas and Easter,
Hmm.
and then they go home and fuck around on their wives and they beat their kids and they go back on Sunday and everything's good. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. You're going to the same fire that, the guy that killed 80 people are going to. I'm sorry. That's just the
Right,
way it is.
right.
So, um, so I've got to pull the truth out of that. And what resonates with me is love,
Yes.
right? And 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 I think it's even more relevant today. So scripturally in Corinthians, Jesus says, this is the red writing, and these three things remain: faith, hope, and love, the greatest of which is love. And I think that's where we're at right now. And this is a nice segue for me to tell you, so I'm a fat little kid that got bullied and abused and everything like that. And so in my aloneness as a kid, and as I was putting Fritos and watching Flintstones and getting all fat and shit as a kid and getting more bullied, I looked to God and I said, I want you to make me a warrior for you. And be careful what you ask for.
Hmm.
So to do all that, and to be honest with you, basically to add some relevance to fit into my family, I needed to go out and be in the military and get all these medals and wear these shiny things and everything like that. I was the last person that you think I would ever join the military.
Mm.
And I did it to get a flash of maybe, maybe acceptance. Um, but it actually turned into a really good experience for me for, well, a lot of what I did. And as I see now, I had to go through my military experience. Believe it or not, I was in naval intelligence for 20 years, and that's helping me a lot right now with pattern recognition and psychological operations and the like.
Wow.
Um, but um, so as I progress to this, and let me make, I'll bring the point home here pretty quick with this. My instinct as a warrior is if you hurt me or if you hurt children or hurt anything I love or hurt America, I'm going to kill you.
Mm.
I'm going to grab my buddies and I'm going to grab all my guns and I'm going to kill you.
Wow.
So that's the
That's your military mentality.
well, because I was in so many situations to where that person's going to kill me and I'm not going
Yeah.
to allow that.
Right.
And oh, and by the way, it's all a big lie. I know it was all a big lie. I
Right.
didn't know it then, but I know it now. It was all
Yeah.
a big lie.
Yes.
Um, so when things happen like the Epstein file, everybody is, let's go out and get him. Well, who are you going to get? It's
Yeah.
all of them, and fine. So here's where I'm at with that. Our greatest weapon that we have right now is truth. That's our greatest weapon. That's my rifle. I don't need to carry a gun. I
Hmm.
don't need to go kill anybody. God, Big G God's going to take care of all of that.
Hmm.
So what do we have to take care of? We are the light bearers, and I don't mean the Satan light bearers.
Hmm.
We are we are the activated. We resonate at a higher frequency, and just by simply walking into a room, the mood in the room shifts, the energy shifts, and that's pretty
People use
powerful.
the term star seed, chosen
Yeah,
one.
I
Is
mean,
that what they use? Is
I
that what you
so
mean?
originally when I tried to figure out and put a label on what the hell was happening to me, chosen one came up. I don't like the
I
term
don't like
because
that either. It feels weird.
if I say that I'm a chosen, I'm saying that I'm better than you, and I'm not better
Feels
than you.
egoic. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't really put a label on. I'm just saying, I'm enlightened. I'm awake.
Yes.
But if so, talking to somebody like you, I'm a shadow worker. I'm a dark angel. I'm an earth angel, but I'm a dark angel, which means is I had to spend that 6 years in the dark. I want to tell you another piece of this before we run out of time that I forgot that's really relevant. So I'm going to go back to what attracted me. I
Yeah.
mean, what interested me. in your story, and it had to do with a couple of things you said. First off, don't you have a tattoo of 11.11? Okay, I see that everywhere,
Yeah.
and I've seen that everywhere for a long time.
Yeah, me too.
I have screenshots in my phone, and I saw you had a thing on your site. Look at this. I have 200 others like it. And what's interesting is I'll be watching a video and I'll screenshot it, and then I'll look at what the content was of the video, and it'll blow you away.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing. The second thing was owls. Um, Owls are iffy for me. I love them, and I don't love them.
Hmm.
And it depends on which van you're taking them in. We have a lot of owls up here, and we have one barn owl that sits in a tree and looks at me like 3 days at a stretch. And I get the feeling that he's protecting me. I really do. But this dude's got like an 8 foot wingspan. He is ginormous. You ever seen the Rush album with the big owl on the front? He looks like that guy.
Hmm.
And I'm a music guy, so
Right.
yeah, it's called Fly By Night.
Okay.
I'll send you a picture of it.
Yeah.
But it's that owl. That and bird feathers. Let
Yeah.
me,
The
since I'm in
feathers.
my this, I will do this. Oh, there's only one of them. I can't find the other five, but
Yeah. Oh, hold on.
and yeah, look at the color. Stace, look at the color.
Yeah. All black, gray, and white.
Yeah. So the feathers were curious, and actually that started in 20. I moved up here in 2015, and I came up it before any of the furniture was brought in here, and I looked around and I felt nature accept me. And I'm like, wow. And I looked down and the first feather was at my feet. And I said, this is gotta be some kind of sign. And I said, when I get in and I have my music business, I'm gonna call it Dark Feather. And I do. I have the Dark Feather Music Project, which is
Yeah.
a music project that uh, combines a lot of musicians, but we also take that music into schools and let the kids play a part of being, in a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
That's that.
That's amazing. Love that.
Um, so the feather now with the feathers, I've had the feathers and the numbers. I don't know. I can't even count on hands and feet how many times I've been out in public and somebody walks up to me just randomly and hands me a feather.
Oh, really?
Just hand me a feather.
Wow.
I've had in the last month, I've had two women walk up to me. I don't know them.
Hmm.
It's at my little watering hole down here where my crew hangs out at. And they they all have numbers tattooed here. Like you have your
Yep.
necklace, but they're tattooed.
Yep.
One's got 888 and one's got 333, I think.
Oh, yeah. I got my 333 necklace on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so each of these actually there's been three. The first one was a lady I met. I came out of band practice, stopped in to have a beer, and she and her husband were sitting there, and there was like maybe one other person in the place. It was late. And I got to talking with the lady. She was very, very attractive, and her husband was sitting there. And she became, how do I say this? She became very interested in me. But it wasn't me that she was interested in. She was interested in the light.
Right.
And she kept communicating with me, and it's like there was a block, and her husband was paying no attention. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable talking to you.
Right.
And I looked at my husband two times and I go, do you mind if I
Yeah.
talk to my wife? And he goes, oh yeah, that's cool and everything like that. And then she looked at me straight out of the blue and she goes, you're an Earth Angel 1111.
Oh,
And
wow. That's
she
cool.
goes, I'll see you later. And
Yeah.
I've had that happen a couple of times.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I have a deep connection to Native Americans for
Okay.
whatever.
I pretty much strangers come up to me all the time and tell me their life story. I mean, their entire life story, details
Yep.
that I should that you would not tell somebody you don't know. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's been like that my whole life now. I've started to make sense of why it's all coming together now.
Yep. And it'll come together fast. But yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, I live on Indian ground. I mean, it's not Indian ground anymore, but I live everything in Washington is Indian related. And so the tribe up here is called the Cowlitz Indian tribe. And I see them everywhere. And the only thing I can say is when I meet one of them, it's like they accept me as if I'm part of them. I see angels, but not, winged angels,
Right,
not the Hollywood, thank God, not the Hollywood
right.
representation. But they are in human form.
Oh, yeah,
And some of them are regular, and that may be a conversation for a different time.
yeah.
The thing is when I'm in their presence, I know they're there.
Hmm.
And it's basically like they're doing a check-in with me.
Yeah.
One time I was in Safeway, one of those interesting situations to where a complete stranger was coming up and for an hour and a half told me every detail of her life.
Yeah.
And this guy kept walking back and forth with a hand truck. He had a brand new Safeway hat on
Mhm.
and a thing. Um, and he had the most beautiful blue eyes and he had the most warm smile. And every time he walked by, he made eye contact with me. And it was as if to say, you're doing what I want you to do. You're on,
Interesting.
you're on track. You're on track.
But it was a
So
real
that,
person.
huh?
It was a real
It's
person.
Well, I mean, it appears as a real person.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into all the ectoplasm and stuff like that, but I'll just say this. He was a real viable
Yeah.
human being. He
Yeah.
brushed up against me. I could feel him. I go to Safeway at least 2 or 3 times a week. It's our shopping adventure here in Woodland, Washington.
Hmm.
I know everybody in that place, and I've never seen that guy again,
Oh,
and I never
interesting.
saw him before. So
Oh, wow. Cool.
I have a couple of truckers that are that way, and I'm quite friendly with a couple of 1% motorcycle gangs. So
Okay. Okay. So before we finish up, what would be your piece of advice for somebody else who's like maybe going through it and they're not sure, what the future holds, or just kind of in that messy middle space? What advice would you give them?
first off, welcome. You're not alone, even though you may feel alone. That's
Yeah.
part of it, but you're not alone. Two, hold on, because through all of this stuff and at the end of it, it's going to be well worth it. Your soul and your heart will be full. Uh, Three, find your tribe
Yeah.
and keep trying.
Yeah.
And it's not about the fall down; it's about the get up. If you get isolated and somebody bitches at you, dust off, get back to it,
Yes.
hang in, and
And trust your intuition. We've all been trained not to trust ourselves. So that's a hard one. So trust your intuition because we have everything we need within us. I mean, we absolutely need community, but when it comes to intuition, we have everything we need within us.
well, and it's been proven that we can't trust anybody else, so we
Right.
have nothing but to trust ourselves. And that's why it's so important that when we get into the collective, that all of our gifts will make the collective stronger,
Yeah.
and there will be great healing in there too. So,
Yeah. And I feel like the more we put ourselves out there, the more, the more we heal, the more hard things we do. I feel like God gifts us with even more things that we can help more people with. He progresses things along.
you're
That's right.
doing good work, Stacy. You're doing
Well,
really, really good work.
well,
I'm so
thank
proud
you.
of you.
Thank you very much. I'm proud of you too. And I'm excited that we met. And I appreciate you doing this show. And we'll have to have you back because we got lots more that we want to talk about.
I'd love to. And in closing too, I will tell you this. As I've stated, I'm writing a book. Whenever that's going to be out is whenever. But I am on several other podcasts, but they're military
Okay.
in in uh, nature.
Hmm.
Uh, I do have my own podcast that's military in nature, and I'm starting another podcast with my dear friend, and it's about what we're talking about
Oh,
right now.
great.
So it's good. It's basically going to be a clearinghouse for all conspiracy theories for
Okay.
us to talk about, and then you decide, the
Love
show.
it.
Yeah.
Love that.
And I'd love to have you on.
Oh, absolutely. I would love to be a part of it. Awesome. Well, thanks so much again, Eric. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Bye
Bye.
now.